So in this video, we're going to look at situations where the product and quotient rules look like they maybe need to be used, but they don't. And what you want to make sure that you do before you just apply a product or quotient rule is you want to make sure that the function you're working with can't be rewritten in a way that simplifies your life and makes it so that you can use the techniques we applied in the previous homework assignment, which are much easier to use. So I've got this function sitting here, f of x equals x squared, and I want to recognize that this radical form can be rewritten as x to the 2/3, and I have 4 over x cubed sitting here minus 3 times x squared minus x all over 5x. And what we want to do here is avoid the temptation to use the product and quotient rules. So here I could use the product rule. I could say, hey, the product rule says take the derivative of the first function and then multiply it by the second function, plus take the derivative of the second function and multiply it by the first function. So I could use the product rule there. Plus, and here I have a ratio, so I could use the quotient rule. I could say take the derivative of the numerator, which is 0, multiply it by the denominator, minus take the derivative of the denominator using the quotient rule, 3x squared times the derivative of the numerator all over the denominator squared, minus, here I have another quotient, take the derivative of the numerator, 3 times 2x minus 1, multiply it by the denominator, minus take the derivative of the denominator, which is 5, multiply it by the numerator, which is 3 times x squared minus x, and then divide the whole mess by the square of the denominator. Now I've got to go through and simplify this stuff, and it's going to take me a little bit of work to do that. So what I want to recognize is that my choice to use the product rule here, the quotient rule here, and the quotient rule here weren't good choices because we could have rewritten things and simplified them before we jumped into taking the derivative. So we'll step through each of these and make sure that we rewrite them in a simpler form. So here I want to recognize that I have the same base. So this can be simplified. I get 2 plus 2/3 is 6/3 plus 2/3 is 8/3. So I have x to the 8/3 sitting there. Plus 4 over x cubed. This is just the same as 4 times x to the negative third power. Minus, now here I want to recognize there's an x showing up in each of these two terms. So x can be factored out as a common factor, which would leave x minus 1 in parentheses, all over 5x, and this will simplify again. I get x to the 8/3 plus 4x to the negative third power minus x divided by x equals 1 as long as x is not equal to 0. And so here this can be rewritten as 3/5 of x minus 1. So now I've rewritten my function in such a way that I can do the derivative using the tools from the previous homework assignment. So if I want to take the derivative now, I'm just going to use the power rule here. Bring the exponent down into the coefficient position and then subtract 1 from 8/3 to get 5/3 plus 4 times, hey, I have a constant multiple of a function, so it's going to be the constant times the derivative of the function. And x to the negative third can be derived using the power rule. So take the negative 3 down into the coefficient position on x. Subtract 1 from the exponent. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. Minus, I have a constant multiple of a function. So it's going to be the constant times the derivative of the function. And the derivative of x is just 1, and the derivative of 1, which is a constant, is just 0. And now I can clean things up a hair. 8/3 x to the 5/3 minus 12x to the negative fourth minus 3/5. And so what you see is by first rewriting the function like this, I avoided that mess that I got by applying the product and quotient rules to the original function. So you always want to take a moment to look at the function you're going to be working with before you just start hammering it with the jackhammer. You want to see if the ball peen hammer will get the job done.